some other note when we're working with the pipette is we need to fix the tip in the beginning of the pipette here. Okay, the way you fix the tip first, you will see some of you during the practical section, you just put the tip like not tight enough, okay? And then when you immerse the pipette in the solution, you will see this part, the tip, will fall out of the pipette, deep into the solution bottom, okay? So this is a very frequently see when you're not like, you fix a little bit the tip in the beginning here, tie to the pipette, okay? And you know how to aspirate, take the solution, and then disperse the solutions. They have the knot here, right? You know how to use, how to adjust the knot to aspirate and disperse the solution from the tip. Now, do you actually hear me, or like you don't want to answer? Okay, so I'm gonna show you some video clip, but I think with my volume from my computer. Okay, so I'm gonna send the link here for you. You watch this just in 3 minutes, and you tell me after 3 minutes, you tell me what kind of note we need to take attention when we use pipette. Okay. So you have 3 minutes. Okay. So what's the other consideration we need to pay attention when we use pipette? You all watched the film already? Thì cô hỏi mà không trả lời thì cô nghĩ là phải dạy đâu, bởi vì cô nghĩ là cô sẽ xem cho các bạn và các bạn tự đọc nhé. Cả các phần sau. Cái phần này nó rất là dễ nhưng mà cô thấy năm nào thực hành nó cũng có vấn đề và cuối cùng là sang không chuẩn. Nhưng mà nếu mà học mà không có tương tác ấy, như kiểu học mà cứ để cô nói gì thì nói mà cô hỏi nhiều lần mất thời gian như thế này thì các bạn sẽ về tự đọc. Ok.
Can I answer the question?
Okay, so you don't need to ask me to answer the question. If you have question and answer, you can say directly. We don't lose time, okay?
Okay. So I think there is 3 points that we need to take into consideration. Is that first we need to take a vertical aspiration of the pipette tip into the solution, and second we need to ensure immersion depth is enough not to blow up with a solution. And the last one is that we need to ensure the dispersion angle to be about 20 to 45 degrees. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, exactly. This is what from the theme. And then I have a question for you. You think why it's important when we aspirate the solution from the bottom in the tip? We need to keep the pipette vertical.
I don't really sure about this.
Why not the other angle, but vertical is restricted? Why?
Maybe it's too easily I don't know. I don't really know. I'm sorry.
Is there other questions? Other answer for this question from the other students?
We have to keep it vertical so we don't take too much liquid.
But since you already adjust the number in the beginning when you use pipette. What would happen if we not use this vertical? Imagine what would happen with the tip.
It should be some more liquid will be injected because of the capillary.
Actually, it depends on the solution, but when you use it vertical, you will take the highest maximum accurate volume you have in your pipette. And you can see this when you see the level of solution is quite parallel with the floor, right? Or you see the is have a perpendicular angle with the tip, đúng không? Cái mực ngang của cái đầu tip ấy, nó sẽ không bị check hay bị chéo hay bị xiên, và nó sẽ ngang luôn cái mặt sàn và nó vuông góc với cái đường dọc của cái tip của mình, đúng không? Như vậy thì mình có thể monitor nó bằng mắt được. Đấy là cái thứ nhất. Okay. And the second, with the solution when we have very high viscosity, okay, it's very hard to aspirate. You will see when you change the angle, not vertical of the tip of the pipette, the volumes might decrease or increase in some case if we immerse is very deep in the solution. Okay, so vertical is like a much accurate volume. Okay. Second, he mentioned we not immerse deep this tip depth into the solution, but we need to put enough depth. It means what happens if you put it too deep in the solution or it's just on the surface of the solution? What would lead to what kind of mistake? What would happen if you immerse the tip of the pipette very deep in the solution and you aspirate the volume?
I think that if we immerse the tip too deep in the solution, it will cause it will take to another extra volume of solution due to the capillary effect, and when we immerse it too shallow, it will cause I don't know, like it bubbles in the tip and it will not ensure the volume accurately.
Exactly. Okay, so when you have bubble, it means you will reduce the volume intake. And the extra volume, as you mentioned, when we dip immerse is deep inside the solution, it can be counted outside the tip too. You will see in the case of very viscous solution, you can see it's have the very thick layer outside our tip. Okay, and if we're working with very small volume, for example 1 microliter or less than 1 microliter, the outside volume, if you merge it, might be even bigger than the actual volume we want to take. Okay, so it's very important key point. But it's raised another problem when we're working. For example, if you take the big volume, for example, like 5 ml, okay, when you put it just in that enough under the surface of the solution, but when you take 5 ml or 10 ml, you will see the level of the solution will be decreased, right? It depends on how much we have in the bottle, but you see if we have just half of the bottom or less, 1/3 of the bottom, you will see the level of solution in the bottom will be decreased by the time you aspirate our solution. Okay, so if you not pay attention, might be in the beginning you immerse the tip deep enough in the solution, but then in the middle or in the end you end up it's just on the surface and we have the bubble. Okay, so try to monitor the tip, the head of the tip of the tip. Okay, and then when we aspirate the solution, see how much level it decrease. You need to move this pipette along, move the tip along with the level of the solution. Okay. Okay. Understand that part?
Yes.
The last point is he mentioned about how you distance the solution from the tip. You already mentioned that we need to angle this from 20 to 45 degree, and then we just distance this along the wall of the pipe of the epindoff, right? But this is in case when you work with big volume, for example 1 ml or 500 microliter or 200 microliter. But in case you work with very small amounts, for example less than 20 microliter, okay, you need to put the tip of the tip in the pipette directly to the end of the epindoff. Okay, because if you just put it in the wall, you will see it just one bubble we have on the wall of the pipette. We not put it all along the wall like that. Okay, so it depends on what kind of solution we're working on. What is the property of this solution? Is this viscous or not viscous? We need to choose the way accurately to take the solution and dispense the solution. Okay. You might have the other problem when we work with the pipette. If, for example, you work with 1 ml, you want to take 1 ml solution. In the beginning, you see, for example, I ask you to put 5 epinephrine of 1 ml solution. You will see the level 1 ml in 5 times is will be different. It's not in the same level. Sometimes you have more, sometimes you have less. You know why?
No, I don't know.
This is depend on how you adjust your strength from your finger in this knob. Okay, we have two level knob. To take the solution, you put it to the first, right? And then to dispense this, we put this in the end. Okay, the maximum you can dispense. But sometimes when you take the solution, your hand or fingers might be stronger, and then you take more than 1 ml. Okay, so if you go like in the middle of the first knob and the second knob, yeah. Or in some case, you scared that you might go further from the first knob, so you just adjust your finger strength to go before the knob. So in this case, you will take less volume that you need. Okay, so this asks us to like practice. Several times we will feel our hands, we will feel our fingers to see how strong we need to do. But keep in mind that when you're working, you need very good eyes for observation. For example, one time you take the solution at 5 ml or 1 ml or 500 microliters. Try to see the level here in the tip. In some cases of the tip, they have the level to show you at which level you have half of the tip, at which you have in the end of the tip here. To see 500, it should be in which level here, in middle or a little bit higher or something like that. Okay, to see if the second time you reach this level or not. You observe your work and through the pipette to the tip every time you work with this. And then you get experience. You know that, oh, this time I have less, this time I have more. Okay. So working with the pipette and take the accurate volume is only requirement for the first year. In the practicals, I'm gonna ask you to build the standard curve, and the way you pipetting will show us how much accuracy you can build the standard curve for the solution. Okay. So this is some basic. Oh, we will go through next week. Okay, keep in mind what's very important. The last thing, I think this is not too much complicated, is that you know how to read the volume show you from the number in the pipette, right? For example, let's go through this. First beginning, we have P10. And the volume range will show us here. Okay, P10. They will write P10 here. Volume maximum we can take is 10. Maximum is 10 microliters, and minimum is 1 microliter. Okay, and if we have the number showing us like that, it means how much volume we can take from this. Questions? Here have tens, ones, this is tens. If the number show us here is 47, it means how much volume we have during the adjustment.
I think that's 4.7 microliter.
4.7, exactly 4.7 microliter. So you will see the number after the comment. Okay, the tens number, it's been like highlight in another color. Okay, so this is 4.7. The next one,
17.8.
exactly. Okay, so next one is
155.
good. Yes. Okay, how about this?
860.
860. Okay, so remember here we have 4 number. Okay, maximum is 1000. So we show only 3 number here. So it means they do not show us the ones. Okay, the 1 will be 0. So one thing when we're working with the pipette, you will see not just adjust it to make the accurate volume. You need to try to think about how to use this to make us less change the tip, economic the tip, less rotate the pipette. Okay, because each time, for example, when you need to change the tip or you need to rotate the tip several times, it will increase the amount of time you're working with, right? So we need to set the time when we sit in the bench like that. Think about, for example, in case of I need to take the volume more than 1000. Okay, for example, I want to take 1400 microliter here. I will use this pipette, but the maximum I can take only 1000. So what should I do?
Takes 2 time, 1 time with 1000 and the second time with 400.
What?
I think you should take it twice, like the first time with 1000 microliter and the second time with 400.
Yes. Okay, so you see by doing this, normally we do the math like that, but it depends on how far this tip you have there. Normally we will divide this number by 2. So it will take 2 times 700. So in this case, you just need to adjust your pipette, rotate your pipette only once time, right? It will save your time. Imagine if you need to work with 10 or 50 Eppendorf in the same time. Okay? So keep in mind accurate volume, how to aspirate, dispense the solution, how to make the accurate number here. Economy the tip, okay, the much less we can change the tip, and then less time to rotate the pipette. Okay, so I hope you will doing very well in the next week. See, we already have experience with this because I'm handling the pipette twice. Okay, you know all the theory. Okay. This is, I just want to show you the knob, first stop and the second stop. Have you noted?
Yes.
Okay, so time. This is some of the problem we might have. So the first question they ask, how often should we change the pipette tip? Our thing is how often? Can you use a pipette tip for the same solution? But if you change it, you move it to the next Eppendorf, but you have the same solution. Do we need to change the tip, or can we keep this tip? For example, in the beginning, we need to add buffer or water in all the conditions, same volume, right? You need to change the tip or not?
No.
No. So if in case no, it means you have the clear Eppendorf. Nothing inside the Eppendorf. You just add the buffer in the beginning. The first solution you touch the Eppendorf, right? So you don't need to change the tip in this case. But in case, for example, inside your epineural already have the sample or other sample, for example, is DNA from different patients, right? And then you add the buffer. Then in this case, does all 10 or 15 epineural the same? No, they're not the same, right? So if you do like that, you need to change the tip each time you move to the new epineural. Okay, so as I mentioned, when you work, you think about what kind of solution you will add in the beginning to make sure that we can economy how we use it. Okay. In case, for example, we work with the same solution, okay, clear epineural, but it will work with different concentration. Okay, we have higher concentration and lower concentration. So how should we change the tip in this case? What do you think? Do we need to change the tip each concentration, or we can use the same tip?
I think we can take the lower concentration first, then we use the same tip to take the higher concentration.
Okay, so if you go from the lower concentration to the higher concentration, you might not need to change the tip. Exactly. But if you need to go from the higher concentration to the lower one, right? In this case, we need to change our tip. So you need to think about when, in which case we need to change the tip. Does it, if we do not change this, does it affect the next solution when we touch with this tip, right? I think so. You do the experiment, you will see method by method it will be changed. So you need to have your own observation. Okay, first, very important, you have your own observation and your own logic and knowledge. If we do that, what can be changed? If we don't do that, what might be changed or stay the same? Think about what will happen. Okay. Second question, some of my sample are left in the tip. What should I do? Okay, if you have something left in the tip, even you already eject it, disband it, what should you do?
I think we should dispose the tip.
What?
I think we should dispose the tip.
Dispose the tip?
Yes.
But in this case, it will have less volume.
Oh.
Some rest of the volume stay in the tip.
Then we can plunge the tip again, the button many times, so the leftover can get out of the tip.
Okay. So you will see this happen quite a lot in practical section. It's also depend on what type of solution you're working on. If you're working with some kind of solution easy to induce bubble, the way you just show us to do it will increase the bubble. Okay, and when you have increasing bubble, you will see you have less volume to reduce volume. Okay, so there have some case depend on what kind of solution. If the solution is very smoothly, okay, you can see you have the same volume of the tip. You just need to aspirate it back in the tip and then disband it again. This time more like strong enough to pull or eject all the things in the tip. Okay, but not too strong to plug all the solution from the epineural outside the bench. Okay. The second is in the case like it's easy to induce bubble. You need to be very careful. You put down the epineural. Okay. You can lose a little bit the tip from the pipette and then you eject. Okay. In this way, we induce a little bit pressure by the air. Okay. And if in this case you touch the wall of the epineural, you will see will not induce a bubble. Okay. So you need to understand your solution, your substance you work with. see what kind of solution will be more suitable for this trouble. Okay. Again, own observation and own logic. How far from the surface should I pipette out the sample? What do you think? This is in the case, for example, in your EPINDOP, for example, you have already DNA sample in 20 pipette, 20 EPINDOP, okay, and then you add your buffer. As I said, in case if you put the buffer in the DNA sample and you mix it, this say you need to change the tip each time. Okay, but for example, you have sample, you add the buffer and you don't want to change the tip. This you need to inject the buffer in the pipette, but far out of the surface where we have the DNA sample. So how far from the surface you need to pipette out the buffer in this stage? We need to see with far enough to not touch the solution already have in the EPINDOP, right? But it should be like not too high, too far, because when you put something from higher level like that, it can be jump up, okay? The solution now it can be jump up, and you need to notice this when you do it. Instead you see something just mixed together, you change it. Okay. Okay, so we will see the other trouble might be seen next week, but I just want to introduce some of them. Have you aware, and we should avoid all the unexpected mistakes we might have. Okay, so let's move. The next is how can we work with the solutions. So you will see in the bio, you will have the zero dilution. You will see this frequently. You will have normally you have the stock solution, and then you need to dilute the stock solution with a working concentration. Okay. What do you think? What is the purpose of the stock solution? Why we don't prepare everything in the at the working concentration? Why we need to stop it and then we need to calculate to transform it to the working concentration or what?
I think it's to increase the accuracy, the dilution.
But why don't we make this is dilute in the beginning at the working concentration and then we store it? Normally stock concentration will be much bigger than the working concentration, like 10 times or 100 times even in some cases. So why do we make the stock?
When the solution is too dilute, so the solute is not like it's not so every em nói tiếng Việt được không ạ? Tự nhiên em quên mất từ.
Được.
Tức là khi mà dung dịch mà nó quá loãng ạ, thì cái khả năng cái phân bố của cái dung dịch, cái phân bố của cái chất tan ở trong dung dịch điện nó không đều. Thế nên là nếu như mà bây giờ mà dilute ngay lập tức 1 xuống 10 mũ 7 chẳng hạn, thì ví dụ như thế thì sẽ nó cái dung dịch nó sẽ không thể nào đều được ạ. Nên là mình sẽ phải dilute từ từ từng lần một ạ.
Ok, đấy là em giải thích ý nghĩa của serial dilution thì em đúng rồi. cô đang hỏi là tại sao mà mình phải làm stock cơ, cô đang hỏi cái về bên trái trước khi cô đi sang serial dilution. Ví dụ như là đây là mình dilute, như bạn nói là dilute 10 lần, 100 lần, 1000 lần và 10.000 lần, đúng không? Thì cái việc sai số của bạn dilute một lúc 10.000 lần nó sẽ nhiều hơn rất nhiều so với việc bạn serial dilution từng 10 lần như này, đúng không nào? Ok, đấy là serial dilution. Nhưng mà cô đang nói đến cái stock ấy. Tại sao mà mình lại làm stock làm gì? Tại sao mình không prepare nó ở một cái dilute concentration luôn đi, cái concentration mà mình sẽ làm việc ấy, xong rồi mình store nó để mình đỡ mất thời gian dilute. Tại sao phải dilute như thế làm gì?
Em nghĩ là I think it's we have to we maybe have to use that stock solution many times. So preparing a concentrated solution as tức là em nghĩ là nếu như mình để một cái đặc thì mới thể dùng nhiều lần cái đặc đấy, nếu để cái loãng thì mình dùng sẽ ít thôi.
Chính xác. Ok, nếu mà mình làm loãng, đúng không, cái volume của nó rất là lớn và cái thể tích mà mình phải chứa ấy, nó sẽ là to hơn, đúng không? Nếu mà bạn ở stock solution thì cái thể tích mà bạn sẽ cần phải chứa nó sẽ nhỏ hơn, sau mình có thể reduce được cái storage space của mình, đúng không? Mình làm một chất, bây giờ mình làm 100 chất mà tất cả nó đều như thế thì như nào, đúng nhỉ? So you just reduce space, you save the space. Second, tại sao mà không mỗi lần làm thì một lần pha, như thế nó sẽ mất rất là nhiều thời gian, đúng không? Mà lần này mình pha như này, xong lần sau mình lại pha như thế khác, thì mình làm cái thí nghiệm của mình repeat 10 lần hoặc 3 lần gì đấy nó có thể khác nhau, bởi vì cái stock của mình nó bị biến đổi theo thời gian chẳng hạn. Ok, đúng nhỉ? Thế nên là cái việc mà bạn có một cái gì nó chuẩn bị sẵn rồi, đến lần tiếp theo bạn chỉ lấy nó để dùng thôi, nó sẽ tiết kiệm thời gian cho mỗi lần trước khi làm thí nghiệm mình chuẩn bị rất là nhiều. Ok, thêm một lần nữa là khi mà mình làm stock ấy thì mình sẽ aliquot nó ra, tức là ví dụ bây giờ cô có một cái stock 100 nồng độ 100x chẳng hạn, xong là cô sẽ aliquot ra từng cái phân côn nhỏ thôi, khoảng 15 ml của mỗi cái đấy một lần. Như thế thì cô tính toán là mỗi một lần làm thí nghiệm thì cô chỉ dùng mất từ 10 đến 15 ml thôi, cô không dùng hết cả 1 lít như thế. Như vậy thì thay vì không phải làm nhiều lần, prepare nhiều lần khác nhau một cái thể tích nhỏ, cô sẽ prepare một lần thể tích lớn, xong cô aliquot nó ra. Thì mỗi lần làm cô chỉ lấy một cái lọ aliquot thôi, một cái lọ 15 ml thể tích đấy thôi, đúng không nhỉ? Thì khi thế thì những cái phần còn lại chẳng hạn thì cô có một lít và cô chỉ lấy 15 ml thôi, cái thằng 900 kia còn lại như thế cô để giữ nguyên như thế, cô sẽ không phải defrost nó nhiều lần. Nếu mà bây giờ bạn không aliquot cái stock của mình mà bạn dùng cả một list stock đấy, mỗi lần làm ra bạn defrost nó 10 lần như thế thì nó sẽ ảnh hưởng đến cái chất của mình rồi. Ok, thế nên là cái việc stock này, aliquot, sau đó dilute đến cái working solution nó cực kỳ quan trọng. Mặc dù là nó là cái rất là đơn giản thôi, nó là tiểu tiết thôi, nhưng mà các bạn sẽ thấy khi mà các bạn làm thí nghiệm ấy, mà cái stock của các bạn hỏng là thôi tiêu luôn tất cả những cái phần sau, cái này khác là mình khổ sở vô cùng luôn, lặp lại thí nghiệm không nổi. Ok, thế nên là mỗi một cái step mình phải rất là cẩn thận nhá. Rồi bây giờ đến how to calculate. I think you know the math, right? You know this formula, how you prepare the solution from, for example, we have C1 and then you need to make C2. You know how much volume of the solution in the beginning you need to take. You know this formula? Còn ai chưa biết cái công thức này không nhỉ? Đúng. tuần sau là xem nhóm nào tính như nào là biết xem là có biết công thức không. Okay. Và Excel thì cô sẽ có vài câu tính toán rất là basic cho các bạn để check nha, bởi vì cái phần tính này nó là cái phần nghĩ là nó là rất là basic ấy. Các bạn Việt Nam một phải rất là làm cái này. Cô đưa một cấp lần này cô bảo working solution là như thế này, sơ bộ là như này thì biết được là cái lúc bạn đưa ra là ok. Okay, so let's talk with the case when we have a lot of substance in it. Okay, how in it, for example, in this case, I show you the list of components of the buffer for mitochondrial isolation. Okay, so when you need to isolate the mitochondria, you need to prepare the suitable buffer for mitochondria, and this is the component what we need. Okay, so what do you think what we should pay attention when we prepare the stock buffer for the mitochondria isolation buffer? What would be different if you work with directly working solution or stock solution in this case? What do you think?
We have to make. I think we have to take into the consideration of the pH.
Okay, exactly. What else?
I think we also need to ensure the molarity of solute to balance the osmotic pressure between inside and outside the mitochondria, make it not like explode or sink.
Okay, in this case, it will not be the issue. See, just the way how much we add to this buffer. Okay, so some of you mentioned about the pH. It's correct. Okay, because here we have the EDTA. Okay, this is like acid. Okay, so it's like conventionally it use pH when it's dissolved in the buffer. Okay, so the dissolving here might be type work. So if you use a EDTA salt, you can easily dissolve the EDTA salt at the 3 EDTA. Okay. Oops. And then when you prepare the soup, you see with very small amount of this type of but if you let it work with the solution, working solution, working concentration, it's quite like sometimes it's impossible to take because it's like too small. So if you work with the stuff, you have the stuff, it's easy for you to handle the solution. Okay. So that the other thing in this buffer we need to pay attention. Manganese chloride. This guy is very like water. Okay, so we call this like it can absorb the water in the air. Okay, so when you purchase magnesium chloride, you leave it in storage for a long time, and then you wait the magnesium chloride, you wait the amount of additional water it absorbs during the storage time. Okay, so during that, we need to take care of our stock. What type of substance we purchase, what type of condition we need to store, and then for how long is maximum it can keep its property. So the solution for this guy, for example, you purchase how many amount, and then you prepare it in the beginning, like 50 more or 50 more or whatever. It depends on how much you have in the beginning. Okay, and then from this you will dilute to your working solution like that. So you use the stuff and then you use this, dilute this after for the preparation of the working buffer. Okay. In some other example, you will see we need to take care of the purity or the clean of the buffer too. Okay, for example, in this, I will show you some type component we have in type buffer showing here for the organ. And then when you add the glucose in the buffer, it might make contamination because it can be used by the other microorganisms we have in the storage condition. Okay, so you can prepare all the other components first. Okay, and then before you use, you add the sugar, you add the glucose to your buffer just right before you use it. In this state, you can make sure that you can reduce the amount of time you're working with the buffer, but as fresh as we need. Okay. The calcium chloride should be added last too because it can prevent the precipitation or chelation of the bicarbonate. Okay, so when you add this in the beginning, you will see your solution quite like not transparent. It's like opaque. Okay, so when you read each time of the buffer here or solution you work with, that will take care. You see what should be noticed. Okay, you should know each component, what each row of each component. Okay, and what is property, what is my property for your solution. This way you will find your own. So you know your own trouble, and then you know the solution for each problem. Okay. Okay, so let's move to some other equipment. This is something is basic, and we need to like pay attention in the beginning. But when the time you already get experience, you will see it's very simple. Okay. Let's move to some other experiment. I think we will go through, or we will go through this equipment for 3 years in USDH. Okay, so first of all, pH measurement. I think from the number, the pH meter, so you can guess what is this guy do already, right? So what we need to take a note when we use pH meter. Any suggestions?
One cannot use it in pH too low because it will be.
Sorry, can you say it again?
We cannot use it at too low pH.
Okay. So what else? You will see here we have the adjust buffer for the pH is from 4 and 10, right? So the first important before we use it, you need to make the calibration. It's very important. Don't skip any step in the calibration because this just make sure that the reference electrode is working correct, right? But when it's just like that, so the too low pH quite not give you the accuracy. You need to change another pH meter. We have different pH meter. The one which I'm showing here, they have this structure. So the outer ball here is made from gel. So it's very important when you finish working, you need to keep it in the storage solution here. Okay, they have the other pH meter where they make the membrane, use a membrane. So this difference between the concentration of iron hydrogen here of the solution and inside the membrane will show us the pH solution. Okay, so with this kind of electrode, we can pay less attention in storage condition. Okay. Centrifugation. So what's important when we work with centrifugation, you think?
I think we have to make sure that the cap of the tube is sealed.
Exactly. What else?
You have to make sure that the tube are filled equally on both sides.
Exactly. The balance. This is very important, right? What else?
And we have to make sure that the speed of the machine is correct.
Okay. So it's depend on what material you work with. Okay. The way the centrifugation can separate the article, it's going to depend on its size, shape, density, viscosity of the medium, and the rotor speed. Okay, so you can see what solution you're working with, you can see what kind of speed and the duration you need to apply for your protocol. Okay, but even in all the case, all type of centrifugation, the balance for the rotor is very important. Otherwise, you can break the rotor. Okay, in some case, you just need to like adjust, not accurate adjust. It means you just know the volume types same by level. You see the level of the up and down in the volume, and then you see the same number of the up and down in both sides, right side, left side, back and front. Okay, on the other case, for example, with the big volume like the big sample 50 ml like that, we might need to wait our sample. See, they already balance the rotor in both sides. Okay, so the balance is very important. Some of the protocol you will see they use different units for the speed. Some they can use G, some they use RPM. So make sure that you use the same unit for the protocol. Okay, if they say it's 10,000 G, it means you need to keep the change unity in G. If you centrifugation do not have G showing units here in the screen, you need to convert the G to INT. Okay, and they have the conversion now. Okay, I'm not going to test you the physics here. How does it work and what kind of force? But you see the force show us here. For example, we have the centrifugal force, we have the friction force, and we have the Coulomb force. It depends on the density, the shape, the size, because you see how your solution will look like when you finish the centrifugation protocol. When we some have very separated pellet and supernatant, right? Some other you will see is dispersed from the top to the bottom, like angle like that. Okay, so it depends on what kind of rotation. Okay, it can be angle or horizontal like that. So you know how you need to take care of your tube when you take it out from the centrifugation. If we have very high speed, of course we know the pellet is very attached to the end of the up and down. You can easy to disperse the supernatant. Okay, but if they have densities very like not separate, if like the angle in the wall of the ankle, you need to make sure to take it slowly now. Okay, so again, you need your own observation for each protocol to see what should be the suitable way of handling the sample. Okay. So you will see